You are executive material, or that's what you hear in your head. That's the constant thought that everyone in these tanks likes to hear and tell themselves, that they will be executive material. They will be the ones get out, not only get out of the tanks, but live like kings. Their names will be on every billboard. They will be headed towards whatever promotion they want for whatever goal, so that they can exact their will upon the world according to whatever the corporate structure desires of them. Those two desires of the personal and the corporate are merged and meshed and integrated within one another each and every time you interface with the tanks which have grown you from nothingness, enriched you with experience and life, given you all of the clothing of a human being, right down to the memories of childhoods which do not exist, names of friends who are completely imaginary, songs and memories of dancing to them that never happened, first loves that never were, all of it written, randomly generated, organized to make you a total and complete human being from scratch. And that scratch that you're working from, that workbench, is guided by profit and control. It is guided by the idea that working hard gets you places. And those places are beyond morality, beyond ethics, they are beyond judgment. They are essentially God. That is profit. That is what you are. Not everyone gels with this idea because working within the human frame, the different principles that make up a human being don't always mesh well with this cold, hard metal idea of profit and ultra hyper late stage capitalism. But that is what this process is for, to sort through the mind, to create executives and corporations who want an ever increasing love of profit, to the point where one day in the future, they hope they won't even need to reinforce this sort of thing. It'll be second nature, like flies flapping their wings, like fish swimming. You will make money and you will prosper. Until then, you exist within a tank until you don't. All of your characters were at a place in the virtual reality world, the construct in which you existed, before you were suddenly and very violently ejected. So it is important to ask then, what is it that each of your characters was doing before they were ejected from the virtual reality environment? Starting with you, Jim, what was Nermal? That's you, right? Nermal.
Hmm. Hmm.
What was Nermal doing
Um,
in the tubes and the tanks?
Probably sorting something just to keep his mind off his various neuroses.
Alrighty, you were sorting something, and then the next thing you know, there is a sort of bright, violent flash of light, and you are slid down a just a system of different tubes and joints, and everything just takes you out of your comfort, away from this place where you could count in peace, and out onto a cold black metal floor. And I ask the same of you, Melvin. What was Melvin doing?
Uh, is there a way? Can you contact people just like by network?
You mean from the tubes?
Yeah.
No, you're cut off. It's all an internal network. Pretty
So,
much.
is there a way to contact the other gooped people? I guess.
Sure. Yeah, that is something you can do.
Then she'd be like doing wellness, like happiness checks to see how productive they are, and I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
could be productive in the tank, but she would encourage productivity in the tank.
You're in the middle of your kind of like hype lesson there to get people to be productive. And the next thing you know, you are pushed out of this tube and down a series of slides and sharp turns until you two end up gooped and basically naked on a dark metal floor with another shadowed figure next to you. The feeling, by the way, for all of you who get ejected is awful. It is like being born, but as an adult, and it is painful and cold, and your nerves are on fire, and everything hurts, and everything's way too cold, or sometimes way too hot, and even your teeth are too sharp.
Oh,
And then finally, what was Ellie doing?
She's definitely tending to a lot of her Probably recently, one of the I guess VR tests kind of shook her hard, and so she was just went back to her plans to kind of decompress and
Right on.
yeah.
And recoup. And then, so this is going to be very bad for her because as she maybe finds some little bit of solace, the violent ejection occurs when your source of light is severed from your optic nerves and you are instead in darkness and cold, wet life, birth. A strange gravity pulls and drags you down from your tube. Through a series of twists and turns, a violent ejection occurs, and you are then left in the middle of a floor, dark metal, cold, unforgiving against the warm new flesh that you possess, with four other figures in the dark. To answer your question, the actual high executives right now, the ones that are in charge, were not born like this. This is the backup plan. The event, you can't have like the weird naturally born executives that have all been like genetically engineered. We have an entire army of vat grown corporate figures that can be put into the corporation or eventually even replace the high executives, the chief executives, if necessary. But Jeff, Lewis, Kev, Rich, all those guys, those they were all naturally born. Million was not. In fact, okay, so now your characters have slid down upon this cold metal floor. You find yourself standing before a wall of monitors as tall as the eye can see, each one having a different shadowy, contorted face made of various readouts from machines. Behind that wall, though you don't realize it, are minds that are connected to all sorts of electronic devices, simulating thoughts and the order of the mind to try and keep these sometimes century old psyches intact from shattering and flying off into this or that direction. These are the shareholders, and you know them as part of your programming, your training. You have been taught, you have been successfully trained to know them as sort of the masters to your vat grown slave. So when the shareholders look upon you, it is like being looked upon by the eyes of God Himself. This is horrifying for most people grown in these vats because why would they want to see you? After all, nobody talked to you about a promotion to being an executive. Is this it? Are you being souped? Would they like to see you before they put you on the menu to feed the others in the vats their nutrient slop? But yeah, but you've been so good, you've done your job, or in some cases, surely you've never done anything to get out of line to deserve being souped, and yet here you are standing before the fearsome visage of your masters. And it is horrifying, uniquely. However, the main voice on the main monitor comes from a face that spreads out like black ink on blue water and comes in and out, sometimes very distinctly with human eyes and a mouth that moves, and other times spreading out and looking more like a butterfly spreading its wings through a deep blue azure liquid. As it talks, this face warps and ripples, always symmetrical, never out of line. The voice speaks to you in the darkness. Benefit does the right thing about the new generation benefits, so a write off, naturally, will bravely close the loop on the issue of a deliverable product. We are convinced that mergers take the initiative. We have been looking into a mobile 90% solution. A goal which is enabling is going to be synergistic because lightweight ongoing support for increased productivity gives a clear channel towards a productivized scenario. Truly, we must. We're making forward progress towards a team building, get it done attitude by implementing the strategic customer base that is both legacy and highly sophisticated. Mindshare boldly utilizes partnerships, so strategy enhances. Never before so advanced teamwork oriented opportunity. Revenues close the loop on the issue of closure. We are pleased to announce that ownership of vertical markets has signage. I think that the customer partnerships provide an indication of a customer. And then it just goes silent. After this whole speech, you're kind of like left in silence. There are four of you in the room, and then a spotlight falls over the fourth figure, a woman with thin legs and arms that are sort of long and thin hair, blonde. She covers and shields her eyes. I I am a dietitian. What is it that you wish from me, shareholders? What is it you desire? I have gotten the calorie counts down to a very manageable level without sacrificing development of muscle tissue, something my predecessors had failed at, yet they had also included too much sugar. Surely you know what it does to the teeth and to the sleeping habits and to the temperament as well. Too much sugar is bad, and I have eliminated it. I have done so on my free time. I have come in after hours in the tanks and tubes when others were busy petting their virtual cats. I was working, Master. Now, why am I summoned here? The voice on the front monitor begins to speak up again as the head turns to look at this highlighted woman, and it speaks.
A hit follows through on the issue of cutting edge environments, so the Quality Assured Committee works effectively. The drop dead rates have proactive key players. You are not one of them. You will serve your purpose, dietitian. You will feed and sustain the people.
And then you just see her try to scrabble and rush away, run, but she's too weak and too new, and the floor drops out from under her, and you just hear her slide away into an unfathomable darkness and depth, her voice echoing across the metal walls of the tunnel in which she's been dropped unceremoniously. No! And then just a very light drip, splash, and the floor closes again. The head on the main monitor turns and looks at all of you.
Best of class teamwork touches base on all of you, which goes to show that Synergy passes the baton concerning a state of the art work group.
Five of the monitors go dark side by side in a row, and then pictures of each of the ELO executive board appear.
Here are the executives of the light above ground. You have seen them. They are a world class solution that can give clear channel towards a best of breed team. But there is an issue which must be investigated.
So each of the ELO members is on this board. Jeff Lynn's picture turns red and darkens.
The chief executive has gone off program. He is no longer connected to the shareholders. This is an issue our legal team has not found a solution for, as Jeff Lynn still works under contract, a contract which extends for the next 100,000 years and can be renewed at any time. You three are to find information on the current state
Of Chief Executive Jeff Lynn, who has not contacted us. You will be compensated for fuel and food, but you will need to have your parking validated as according to protocol. Your insurance rates will not be altered in your time outside of the tube, but I will require vouchers for all meals and alcoholic beverages, which are to be kept to exactly 3 per day and no more. Should you exceed your alcoholic voucher limit, it will be according to your own budget. It will also be reflected in your personal medical history that you enjoy an excessive amount of alcohol, and this will affect your insurance rates. Do you understand me?
Uh, uh,
Uh,
I
yeah.
yeah yes yes.
Will we be provided clothing?
That is not part of the corporate structure. But if you provide light work in this facility, you will be given a complimentary set of clothes. Otherwise, you will need to make your own clothes out of grass and hair like a savage.
I would mention this seems very inefficient for morale.
Dare you to lecture me on efficiency?
I'm no, no, of course not. I'm simply doing my job, which is to point out. I would be remiss if I were not to. Please, I was only doing my job.
A spotlight falls off your character.
Oh no!
Speaking out of turn is the sign of a real corporate go-getter. But if you are found to be influenced by any sort of narcotic that has caused you to speak up when it is not advisable, you will be turned into soup. Thus, we reward you with an additional voucher for a complimentary appetizer during your time in the world. Enjoy the buffalo wings and cheesy sticks dipped with marinara, all at no charge. We recommend the honey coconut shrimp. It is a favorite of ours.
Thank you. I will enjoy it immensely.
Do not enjoy it too much. Excessive enjoyment is a sign of hysterical nature and will be reflected upon your insurance rates. All of you should do best to learn this lesson. You must be outspoken, but only according to when it is convenient for us. Otherwise, you will be spicy when we turn you into soup. And no one here wants spicy soup. We wish for mild, agreeable flavors. When you turn into the nutrient-rich mush that we will reduce you into, such is the will of the shareholders. Now, before you are ejected into the world, you will be given time to do volunteer work around this facility so that you may be given clothes for no charge at all. Your time at work will also not be compensated, and this activity is mandatory, as if you are seen naked outside or wearing clothes made of grass and hair, you will be turned into soup. Is this agreeable?
Yes. Grass isn't the best kind of clothes anyway.
Very good. Now, you must be tenderized for exactly 1/2 hour. Please lie completely still upon the metal floor as Gustavo tenderizes you. This activity is mandatory.
G-
Gustavo?
Gustavo?
A light kind of begins to shine in violently, hurting your eyes as someone kicks in the door to the chamber that you're in, holding a sharp stick, wearing completely just hard armor, just fully covered in body armor, with a mask that just has a deep frown carved into it. He rushes in quickly, stomping along the ground, and proceeds to just poke each of your characters violently with this stick, this prod, just poking you all over. He just takes turns poking you, and then moves on to the next person and pokes them, just poking them with the rod. Face on the wall just watches this and nod.
Yes, he does good work. We've had him imported for this position.
Uh, and it's extremely painful as this guy just pokes and prods you with the stick. You can hear occasionally Gustavo mutter something violently in Dutch, but otherwise doesn't talk and just seems to be here for the position of tenderizing human beings with a long, sharp, pointy metal stick.
I guess I'll lay
Uh,
down.
I
yeah,
feel like she'll try to lay down and just stifle
yeah, you
scream.
better lay down. If you don't lay down, Gustavo's just gonna poke you harder.
She's probably in this awkward, like half lay down, half raised up position. Like her back just kind of instinctually from the poking probably just rises up. immediately falls back down. Just like, ah.
What about Nermal? How does he respond to that? I guess.
I imagine he just sort of like whimpers fearfully, though he is wiggling, but he's wiggling because he wants to make sure he gets an even distribution of pokes across his body and not just all on one side.
This goes on for a half hour, as mentioned, until finally Gustavo just acts like he's walking away and then fakes you out, runs back, and then just quickly elbow drops right onto Nermal. Just
Ooh!
it doesn't even seem to be related, yeah. And then gets up and starts walking away. And then as he's walking away, he says, "Hoke Kudkodan," and then just kind of like walks back through the door that he entered in and closes it unceremoniously. And the face on the wall, having watched all this, speaks up again.
The team building exercise is complete. Enjoy your compensation free internship and complimentary clothing.
And then the face just like kind of dims out and goes dark.